You were not recording.
I was not recording.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
So this guy was not recording?
I was not recording. But okay. Buzz babies, and we are live at Planet Comicon part 2. We weren't recording initially. I'm with Francis Manapul. He is working on a book at Ghost Machine. It's a collective. It's amazing. They're doing awesome stuff for indie creators, making awesome books. How you feeling about it?
Good, and we're very much a group of guys that got together and is we're doing this thing together, you know, and it's couldn't be more excited.
Who was the first person to reach out to you about it?
Pete.
Really?
Yeah, well, so Pete and I have Jeff and I worked together for a few pivotal books in my career, and we've stayed in touch. But Pete and I think we had just run into each other at a con, and we just started chatting again, you know, kind of just, hey, what are you up to? This is what you're doing. This is what I'm doing. And then he's like, hey, there's this thing that's happening, you know. And I'm like, well, tell me more, right? So he told me about it. And then at some point I was in LA with my mom, and I visited Jeff, and then Jeff told me even more about it. And from now, here we are.
Very cool. So. Yeah, I just talked to Jeff and Brian.
Yeah.
They were on the show. Jeff's trying to get a car. He wants an actual Ghost Machine.
Yeah.
He was wearing the Ghost Machine hat, right?
Yeah.
He was like, we got cool shirts, we got a hat.
Yeah.
Launches into the next tier. We need a car. So if there was a Ghost Machine car or vehicle of some type, what would it be?
Well, there's a lot of us, and we all roll together.
Okay.
So it would have to be like a big van.
Okay.
You know, like it's not the sexiest vehicle, but you know what? It gets a lot of people around town, right? And dare I say, a souped-up Volkswagen bus.
Ooh.
Or maybe those old school safaris, those GMC safaris.
Yeah.
Right? So, look, man, like we're humble, modest people, so it doesn't need to be fancy.
Nice.
So,
I love that you're humble and modest, but it's so crazy talking to you guys, because it's like I mentioned, the stories you've made that you've put out there. Before I was doing press, before I was doing Blake's Buzz, and I was just a comic fan, going to shops on Wednesdays, reading cool stuff. You know, the New 52 got me back into shops, you know, like doing stuff. And like, I liked The Flash, man, but it never really called to me, you know. And what you did in New 52, and then like when Joshua picked it up in the Rebirth relaunch, like you guys really made The Flash different to me and feel different and feel better. And so like, thank you for that. It's so cool. And are you gonna miss like some of that stuff, like with like, those like IPs that aren't yours but they're so like magnanimous and legendary, and when you get to play there?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, we all grew up on that stuff, right? Like I said, I was a massive fan too. None of us would be standing here if we weren't fans, right?
Yeah.
And to get to work on The Flash was an absolute, like, dude, come on, man, come on. I had been asking for The Flash the moment I got to DC, and I kept getting told no. And it wasn't until I decided to just find like my voice, I guess, artistically, and I didn't find it until I was working on Superboy with Jeff Johns, right? Because I don't think there was any real high expectations of that book, so it was an opportunity for me to embrace what could be artistically rather than trying to keep up with the Joneses stylistically, right? Because, you know, at some point, you know, when you get to the big two, you want to climb up the ladder, right? And at that time, you know, look, I was young, and I thought that if I drew a certain way, it would get me this and that. And while that was definitely accurate, because there's a certain look that works well on mainstream books, I didn't realize there was a different path to get to those higher tier characters, and it wasn't until I really leaned into what my voice was, and you know, with working with Jeff Johns, he was really able to write a story that leaned into something that I didn't even know was there, right? So what developed out of Superboy was this much more unique look than I had been working in before. And little did I know that that's how I would find my way to the Flash.
Wow.
Right. So it was the irony of getting to the Flash once I wasn't pursuing it anymore, and I was just pursuing a more truer version of my artistic self, I guess.
Wow.
That sounds like so like artsy fartsy, but it's like, oh, be yourself. But also, it's kind of true, you know.
I like that though. Like you forget that, so
Yeah.
especially in commercialized IP and stuff. You know, like I could see how some people think
Sure.
like I have to write a certain way, I have to tell a story a
Yeah.
certain way. I have my style, my art has
Yeah.
to be, you know, like it has to be people the marketability of it, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, it's kind of sick, but it's also a real thing.
Yeah.
I do a lot of like Kickstarter stuff and work, you know, like a lot of. I try and like help get indie people voices. It's very cool now that I get to interview people like you,
Right.
And then also like, you know, new Kickstarter folks. But on that note, the indie scene is rough out there for some, and you know, with publishers,
Sure.
financial stuff like that. What's some advice for like for new people being an indie? You know, like. You know, everybody's like, if you want to make comics,
Yeah.
make comics, but like, you really got to love it. You to put up with everything, to stick
Sure.
with it. It's expensive, right?
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, like, what would you say to like a new indie person, other than like, run, don't do it? But no.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I'll be perfectly honest with you. As much as I'd like to give an appropriate advice, I'm going to guess that whatever advice I can give will be fairly general because, you know, I came in at a different time, right? So anything I say might not ring true, but there's certain aspects to business and art that rings true no matter what era you're in, right? Because I don't want to give an advice that's out of date. That doesn't reflect the market today,
Okay.
right? But here's the thing that I've learned, right? So when we go back to that whole DC thing, I realized that when I was entering the mainstream market, I was in my 20s, right? And when you're in your 20s, you don't really know yourself yet. And I didn't gain the success that I had or have until I discovered myself. And it's the same thing as a person becoming an adult, right? You're slowly coming into yourself. And I think a lot of it will come down to what's your definition of success, right? Is your definition of success doing this for a living? One would assume that that's what people's goals are, to be able to do this for a living. Then, you know, your goals, or rather your path, is going to be a little bit different than others, right? Because when you're looking at it from very much a monetary standpoint and a business standpoint, your path is going to be different, right? And in the indie scene, I think it would behoove you well by doing the research and seeing in equal parts what the market needs or what's missing from the market,
Okay.
right? So those are two things that you could do. Now, if your metrics of success is that you just get to draw and it's something that you enjoy, then the bar is a lot lower because you have nothing to lose. You're doing it because it's fun and it's something that you would be doing anyways, right?
Okay.
Then at that point, whether your mom or your kid or your wife or your partner read it, then that's a metric of success for that person, right? So I think it's just a matter of defining what your definition of success is,
Okay.
and going down that path of what will get you there, right? Because like I said, that path is different from when I was breaking in, and it's different from what it is now, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, the
And
market...
it'll probably be different next week when someone watches this video.
Absolutely, it'll be different next week. The state of the market is always changing, right? And the one thing that I will say is that a lot of people speak negatively that, you know, the industry is in bad shape, but I feel like that conversation has been had even when I was a kid trying to break in. I remember the first articles I was reading was that, oh, you know, Diamond is taking over, the industry's over. And it's still here, right? It's never over, it just evolves,
Okay.
right? And I think it's just a matter of people's ability to evolve and adapt to that new environment, right? So I know that that's not a super actionable advice.
No, I think it's good,
but
it's a lot of people think that marketing and market research is not a comic book making skill, but it is, like that, and branding, and like knowing where you want to see yourself, and you know, like it does require research. It does require looking at the market, thinking about what you can bring to it, what you can sell in it. So I mean, it's not. Is it like sexy and glorified as a rock star answer? You know, like no, but is it real? Like it's real.
Well, the thing is that it's hard, right? Because you don't want to use those metrics for your artistic purposes, because it can rob you of the joy of art, right? So there's that. But also there's the reality that if you are going to pursue this as a business, those are aspects that you will have to look into, right? It's like anything else, man. Like I'm sure with a lot of your social media stuff, you first approached it from a fan standpoint because you really enjoy it. But once you get deeper, you realize there's certain metrics that you know you can change in order to ensure or at least line you up for potential success. You know what I mean? It's just the realities of the business, right? Is that this is art and this is also business.
And I would like to point out that your boy's killing it, because I'm president of Planet Comicon for 2 years in a row, introducing rock stars like Francis here. I know you're busy. I know you're setting up.
Nice.
I know you got the book coming out for Ghost Machine. Real quick, throw us that quick con pitch of why we need to put this on our polls and get it on our list.
Oh, okay. You have some time? Look, listen, a lot of the makeup of Ghost Machine is a bunch of creators who are pursuing something with extreme passion. And I feel like we're in an industry where I think passion comes across the page, right? I mean, even with the way you're introducing things, the way you introed into this video, there's enthusiasm there, right? And I think in an industry where a lot of people can feel like they've seen it, it's been done. Yeah, it probably has, but not by us, you know, not by this group, and not with these characters, right? And I think a lot of the work that we're doing are characters that will speak and be relatable to a lot of people, you know. And with my work with Peter Tomasi on the Rockefellers, we're really trying to develop a story about a family that everybody can relate to, you know. It's kind of like, you know, you think you have big problems, these guys have even bigger problems, right? But the thing is that there's that commonality of the family and human element that is inevitably relatable to everybody, right? Both from the parent, the grandpa, to the kid, right? So we're just trying to tell the best stories we can and give people the best characters that they can read about, you know, characters that they're going to grow with, you know. Like Peter and I, we've literally been developing like 2 years worth plus of material with the characters, and our plan is to stick to these characters for as long as you guys will keep reading it. And even if you don't, we'll still keep going, because we really truly believe in these characters, and we're trying to make sure that there's a place for you to come and read books and read about characters that you know will be there, you know, not just this month, not just next month, but next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You know, this is not a TV or a movie pitch where once we've had that one book out, we're done. No, by the time, you know, let's check in 2-3 years, you know what I mean? Because at that point in time, the questions will be like, oh man, what's going to happen to Roland? What's going to happen to Rachel? So it'll be very different, and that's our goal, is to get people to care about these characters as much as we do. So
very cool.
That's a very long pitch. No, it's a very long pitch.
I'm sold. So. Jeff said the same thing. He was like it's not a like 1 or 2 year thing. Yeah. It's a 4 or 5 year. You know, we've got big plans. That's why he's talking about the Ghost Machine mobile. He's like he wants to happen. He wants to, and I'm so excited for all these projects. I know April 3rd is the first Ghost Machine day. Yeah. But when does Rockefellers comes out after that?
We're going to be coming out in November.
November, okay.
So there's going to be a second wave of books in the fall.
Okay.
So there's going to be some books launched in October, timely for Halloween. And then because we're a book about a family, we'll be launching around Thanksgiving, right? So we're trying to be smart with our releases, and that's one of the aspects of Ghost Machine that really allows us to expand our wings, is that we're involved in more than just the creative aspect, right? The business is informed by our creative decisions and vice versa, right?
Nice.
But more creative decisions that, or rather, business decisions that service the creative endeavors that we have, right? So that's how we're approaching things.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. Are you guys going to make me cry? Because the last time I read a Pete book about family, Damian Wayne died, and it wrecked me so hard, and I cried. I'm pretty sure I cried in Super Sons a couple times too.
Yeah.
So are you guys going to pack some feels?
Okay, so a few weeks ago, Peter came to Toronto, and we were working in our studio, so we were working on the story. Mm-hmm. And as we were planning out the year, Peter cried 2 times while we were discussing the story, and I cried 3 times.
Wow.
And because the thing is that, like I said, we're trying to write, we're trying to use personal experience that I think is an emotional feeling that everybody has, right? And when you're writing a book about a family, inevitably your own experience will come through. And I think, you and I look very different, but there's a lot of common grounds that is there. And what we're finding is that, Pete's son is older. I have 2 younger daughters. So we're coming at this from a different point in our lives. So it's interesting because as we're writing these stories, we're looking at what's ahead for us as fathers, and we're looking at what was behind us.
Cool.
And once you look at all that thing in retrospect, you can't help but be emotional. So are you going to cry? Yeah, you probably will. You might even cry in the first issue.
Wow, all right.
But the thing is that we're going to earn those tears, and then, you can put it in a bottle and then say, you can throw it at Pete, Don't do that.
Don't throw things at comic creators, folks. I'm excited. I like feels in comics. I like to, I want to be moved. I want to think differently. I want to be challenged as a reader, right? If everything I read had me in the same spot, feeling comfy and normal all the time, if everything, it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Francis, this is so cool. Like, I'm such a big fan. It was amazing to get to talk to you. Like, thank you so much for taking the time. Real quick, where's the best place? Do you have a mailing list or anything you want to shout out that people can follow you or subscribe to?
Yeah. Just check out ghostmachinepro.com.
Okay.
All of our social media is linked from there, and one more thing that I just want to say, as you said, stories are about it's about a transference of emotions, right? So our goals with our books, and I feel that we're in a place to accomplish that, is if we're able to move you and get you to feel something, then the story is successful. Because ultimately, plots and all these things, you forget about it, but you'll always remember how a book made you feel. And our goals with our books is that to leave an emotional impression on you that, in 20 years, you're like, when you think of that book, there's a certain part of your heart that moves, and so that's our goal. So.
That's a hell of a goal. I'm down with it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for everything Ghost Machine is ready to bring me. I'm excited for 2024 and excited to see what you guys bring. Enjoy the concert. Thank you so much. Absolute pleasure to meet you, and I'll be back this weekend. I'm going to have you sign my flash on this. But I had it in here today, and it was like, I put my backpack on before I left. I was like, no, I'll wait for that one.
No, dude, good. Dude, I'm sorry. I realized after I shook your hands, my hands are sweaty because I'm nervous. This thing is, you never get used to this. It's all, we're both and all nervous about doing these things. So
Well, good. Keep whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
man. If it's staying nervous, staying happy, keeping your audience emotional. Keep doing it, man. Because the stories are flowing, and when I see your name on the cover of a book, I'm never mad about it. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, man, you too, man. Keep doing you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we did it.